This is In the Loop. I'm Christian Bryant. We're bringing you another entry in our series, Love Life, where we dig into how Americans are dealing with the changing dating landscape. In this edition, we're talking about matchmaking. Many of you may be familiar with matchmaking from shows like The Millionaire Matchmaker, which ran for 8 years starting back in 2008, and Indian Matchmaking, which recently released its second season. Matchmaking has made its way into movies like in Fiddler on the Roof,
Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match.
and Mulan.
Too skinny.
But matchmaking beyond the big screen is still a bit misunderstood. It has a long history in many cultures, and it's something that many people are turning to today. According to Ibis World, the dating services industry has grown over the last decade, from a $1 billion industry in 2012 to over $4 billion in 2022. Matchmaking services will account for 21% of the revenue this year. We sat down with dating coach Allie Jackson, and she explained some of the recent trends she's seen with people seeking out professionals to help them meet their match.
I've actually seen, I think, more so people from cultures where help wasn't typically ingrained into their culture, seeking help at a higher rate, perhaps because they're exposed to things like Indian matchmaking or, shows that they're seeing where they're realizing, oh, that is something that people do.
Matchmaking goes all the way back to ancient Greece, where women matchmakers called promnestrias did all of the negotiating between the bride and the groom's families. Matchmaking has been a norm in India since the 4th century. This tradition holds strong today. A 2018 survey found that 93% of married Indians had an arranged marriage, while just 3% said they had a love marriage, which is when people choose their life partner. By the 12th century, Jewish communities used a shadchan, who would look into the backgrounds and personalities of people to set them up. This is still prominent in some Orthodox Jewish communities today. In Japan, matchmakers set up meetings with singles called omiai, though these are less popular today. A survey from the National Institute of Population and Social Security Research found that in 1930, 69% of people in Japan were married through these meetings. By 2015, that number dropped to 5.2%. In England, Queen Victoria was a matchmaker herself in the late 1800s. She set up arranged marriages for her children and grandchildren. And this became something that was not just for royalty. Other people started taking part in the matchmaking process as well. In the 1920s, there was an attempt to use science to match people. The Smithsonian published an article explaining a few different scientific tests that had been used to determine whether a married couple would work or not. And in the 60s, people would pay a few bucks to answer a questionnaire that would be used to help them find a match. Today, if you're looking to be professionally match-made in the US, regardless of your background or traditions, it can cost a pretty penny. There are a few things that factor into the overall price, like the type of matchmaker you choose and the package. Some companies offer a guaranteed number of dates, and others charge for the length of time they are helping you. These services can range anywhere from $500 to $250,000 a year. Allie says while these services are expensive, there are ways to make this kind of advice attainable for people who don't have a lot of extra cash. If you dive into the world of dating TikTok, there are over 600 million hashtag views. You might have to sort through a lot of videos of people's personal dating horror stories, but there are real dating experts with advice on there as well.
I think that social media and TikTok has been so great because although, you gotta be careful what you just see on TikTok and decide is facts, but I think what's really cool is that you can engage with a lot of content that you're getting totally for free and then kind of ease into what you think might make sense for you within your budget.
Allie also explains that dating doesn't come naturally to everyone. Part of working with a professional is more than just paying to be set up. They help you understand what your needs are and how to communicate them.
We seek coaching and help in so many areas of our life, like our career, for example, or mental health. And dating just hasn't been something that I think has been seen as okay to seek help with. And that's starting to really change. And people are starting to see it as something that you can seek help with and that it's okay and it's not taboo. And that tide has started to shift, which has been really cool.
Now we're bringing in an actual matchmaker to talk about this more with us. Tammy Shackley is the founder of H4M Matchmaking and is a certified matchmaker. H4M is a matchmaking service for LGBTQ plus folks that helps singles meet their match. Tammy, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for inspiring other singles out there.
What we really want to know is how this matchmaking process works. Let's say I'm happily married, but let's say I reach out to you and I need to get hooked up. Something ain't working and I need you to help hook me up. Can you lay out for us the steps it takes for people to find their person and what you need out of people to help them find their person?
In my case, everyone I introduce has done the same interview with me, same criminal background check. I interview one-on-one for about an hour and a half and really get to know their human interest story, their journey, where they are today, their lived experiences, and then what they want for their future. And then we look at individuals side by side, really looking for those key components of compatibility. We tell them about each other. If they want to meet, we pick the restaurant, we make the reservation. It's very concierge. They get to show up and be a single that the other person has heard about from another human, not a fancy profile photo or a, cheesy write-up. It's humans telling other humans about this great human you should meet.
You kind of mentioned some of your own background here. We heard you've been match made yourself. Tell us a little bit about your experience and maybe how you've been able to build off of that with your own company.
That's a good point. I was a prolific dater, always had been. And I had been married before, no kids. But so when I divorced, moved to a new city, had a new career, and I worked in news, politics, philanthropy. So I was very well-rounded and I was a good conversationalist. I wanted someone, that had the same ethics, morals, upbringing, maybe a spiritual foundation. And in all of those things, I met a lot of matches before I met the one that became my husband. And so now when I work with LGBTQ singles, to me, it's so much more than you're good looking, you've got it together, you've got a great job. It's so much more than that. What is your family history, your background? Are you family oriented? Do you see having children in your future? We talk about all of those things because you want to meet someone that pairs best with you. Doesn't mean mirror. You don't have to mirror every topic, but a compatibility that is sustainable for a long, long time.
I'm curious to know, though, how has the matchmaking industry grown in recent years? And if we could do a little bit of forecasting, where do you expect it to go?
The matchmaking industry was already growing. There are folks that are too busy. They were always on an airplane at a conference, speaking, managing multiple offices, their teams overseas. There were already busy singles taking advantage of hiring a matchmaker, outsourcing that search, or supplementing their search. That was already happening. Then the pandemic happened. Shelter in place changed everything. Some industries started to shut down, ours lit up. And folks started contacting us saying, well, now I can't even go to the bars, go to church, go to the meetups, go to the soccer league. What am I going to do now? And I said, essentially matchmakers said, we got this. I mean, we find and interview the most, eligible of singles, and we simply introduce you to each other. So let us do the work. And then after the pandemic was extended, and even once people started traveling again, or, restaurants were opening up, there was a level of, anxiety, nervousness. Well, now I haven't talked to anybody in a year or been on a date. Now I could use a kind of a wing woman or a wingman to kind of help me out.
Folks, just if there's anything you can take away from this conversation, people watching this at home, is that all of your options have not been exhausted. The voice you were just listening to is Tammy Shackley. Tammy is the founder and certified matchmaker of H4M Matchmaking. Tammy, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. I hope everybody finds their partner just like you did. She's beautiful, and you guys are a beautiful couple. So I think this is great to put this out in the world to help others,